You heard what the lady
First and
said.
foremost, I'd like to go ahead and say welcome back. Thank you all for joining us again for this session of WeGOJA's History and Arts Integration. As we move further into Black History Month, one of the initiatives of WeGOJA is to lift and elevate the history of Black people and the culture, but then also demonstrate how it could be fused in the arts space. So you can have this interdisciplinary type approach to teaching history, Black history in particular, and Black people in the diaspora, and be able to fuse that with arts. So we're going to jump right into it. Um, I'm going to do this because, let's see. All right. So I want to first, before we get too far along, is to kind of highlight two ideas that seemingly has been a through line or through lines in Darian's presentation the past 2 days. He has given us a lot of information about patterns, shapes, and how those things were connected to the African drum and how the drum was used not only back on the continent of Africa, but then how it was brought forth along with those who were enslaved and how that drum was used to communicate. So throughout his presentation, he highlighted how you see the evolution of the drum, but you also see the evolution of communication and expression by Black people. You see examples of Black ingenuity, even in some of the toughest situations. You just see how over time, the culture, the history begins to evolve and create something new, depending on the time and era in which we are in. So I wanted to highlight those things because we're always evolving while we're Black. Uh, no plug for the book. I just saw the title and it seemingly fit the conversation. But as things are similarly compared to today's contemporary times with the political climate and the things that we see now, it's no different than what we've seen in the past. And so even during the past as well as in the present, we're going to continue to evolve and utilize what we know, which is our creativity and our forms of expression. So just to kind of take a step back, because Darian shared ways of how the drum was used to communicate and even facilitate the organizing of the Stono Rebellion, bringing folks together. There were other ways I want to highlight too, that Black people were able to use their ingenuity to communicate. And it was through an art form, which was Negro spirituals. This was one song that has been associated with um, um, the slavery period and how Black people were able to communicate running away through song, and it went right under the radar. And they would sing it in the presence of their oppressors, their enslavers. And so this was one song, Follow the Drinking Gourd. And the drinking gourd physically is a gourd. If you've ever seen a gourd in the country, it's shaped like a container, and you can find them and they can hold water. But in this case, the drinking gourd is symbolic for the Big Dipper. So Black people would share and sing in this song, and if it's some who were planning to make an escape, they were being told to follow the Big Dipper because then you can find the North Star and it should lead you on a path to where you can be safe and escape slavery. So this was one example that kind of supports this whole ingenuity of Black people during this period of slavery, but also elevate the artistic aspects that they brought to the table from the continent that still reigns true. A second is hairstyles. I thought that it was important to note that given hairstyles for Black people are so fashionable now, understanding that cornrows were an example of maps that were used to try to direct those who were trying to escape to freedom. And so not only were these forms of maps, but they also stored food like rice so that they could sustain themselves. So the culture, the history, regardless of the situation, was able to evolve over time and become something different based on the era in which we move into. And so we don't have slavery per se, but we still embrace the hairstyles and the creativity that could be drawn out by representing the hairstyles, as well as we still sing those songs. If you're in the country or if you're growing up in the rural or you just attend a church in the rural part of the state, you're going to get one of those hymnals that's going to share some of those old Negro spirituals, which had greater meaning during the time in which they were actually being sung. And just to quickly recap, because there were four people I'm going to highlight that Darian presented through his presentation was one, you see the evolution of communication and expression in the form of art through basket weaving. And this is Miss Mary Jackson. He noted how you could see the shapes, the patterns, and how you could assign a particular sound to each shape or whatnot that could really illuminate what that art piece could be, but also help to interpret it in a different way. And then we saw Mr. Arthur Rose Sr. He's an artist and a sculptor. When you mentioned this, Darian, I wanted to say something on day one, but I decided to wait. To the right of Mr. Arthur Rose Sr. Can everybody see the screen? Because I can't see you. If you can let me know. I've been moving and I didn't even think to ask to make sure everyone could see the screen.
I can see it.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can see it.
We can see
Okay,
it.
very good. All right. So to the right of Mr. Arthur Rose Sr. is his son, Arthur Rose
Yeah.
Jr. And this young man was one of about 13 to 15, somewhere in that number, of students who desegregated the Orangeburg County School District in 1964. So when he mentioned Arthur Rose Sr., I was like, wait a minute, I know this guy. And so I was able to make that connection, given I had just not too long ago spoken to Mr. Arthur Rose, but I didn't know as much about his father. So the history of some of our artists are talented people, and we all have talents, but they go far beyond in this state. And so he was also one that is still around to tell the story of his father, which is Arthur Rose Jr. And so, question?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm just saying, very cool.
Yeah, man, yeah. And so, yeah, so he's been able to keep his dad's story alive. Uh, a third that was mentioned was Mr. Pegleg Bates, who was born and raised in Fountain Inn, which isn't going towards the upstate. Overcome his adversity, thinking about that ingenuity, Black ingenuity, and being able to create from situations, even when it seems not always the ideal situation, but he became such a renowned tap dancer. So he's been able to evolve that sound of the drum into the form of tap dancing during his era. And so you see how this evolution continues over time, but it also is another form of communication and expression. Because when we think about what communication and expression represents, it's just our way of demonstrating what's inside of us and how do we get these things out, right? And so when we're able to find an avenue or an outlet to display what's inside, then it becomes this evolutionary process to see how that will impact others, but then how it would change over time. And so we saw from Darian's presentation how the drum was the focal point in the community of Black people when they were enslaved and how it was used to serve in so many capacities. But then now it's splintered off in so many different directions because that way of communication, that way of expression, that way of creating sound to represent words has evolved into other things. And then the last person I want to highlight is Darren Buff Robinson, who was also one of the Fat Boys. I don't know if anybody remember them, as Darren had mentioned, but I remember the movie Disorderlies back in the day in the 80s. So uh, it was great kind of rehashing that musical group that had one of South Carolina's natives a part of that. And so doing the beatboxing, really being the beat and becoming the beat is another form of expression, but also how the drum has evolved over time. Okay, so I want to show a few clips, and after that, then we'll talk about exactly how do you use all of this, or in what ways could you approach um, doing this work in the classroom. All right, so the first clip I'd like to run, it's, let me share my screen. All right. This first clip I'd like to share, it's one um, had to dig in the crates for. Um, if you're familiar with what's happening back in the day, you will see that this is a clip, a rerun. And so I didn't highlight the hamboning that Darian mentioned, but I wanted to stick this piece in here, this video clip that came about over time, which kind of pulls in some of the ham boning in some ways because of the slapping of the body, but also a different form of art. And you see a lot of movement. So I want to share this short clip so you can kind of get a gist of how that beat has evolved and how that form of expression and communication has evolved over time.
Hey, Frank, we're experiencing some lag. I don't know if it's just me.
Yeah, I got it
I
too.
figured it might be. Okay. Sorry about that. That's technology at this hour. Um,
I do want the sound. We can hear it clearly. The sound is good, but it was
yeah.
just lagging a bit.
Okay. Thanks for letting me know. Well, that was rerun, and we'll find a way to share those clips with you because I think it's important in seeing how all of these things kind of connect, but build upon each other as well. Um, let's get back to the presentation. There's a couple of other clips I may show, and we'll see how they work. I don't think it entails a lot of dancing, so it might be much easier to follow. So that was rerun. Um, I'm going to skip the dance lesson because it's going to be a lot of movement, so that wouldn't work. But I do have a clip I would like to share quickly of Michael Jackson. Uh-oh, did I hit a nerve? Somebody somebody thought about Mike. Okay. All right. So Mike was the not only the ultimate performer, as many of us know, but Mike also he was music. I think that's a great way to frame um who Mike was and what he represented. He was music. And so I'm gonna share this clip of Mike really trying to demonstrate how to get what's in his head out, and it takes the form of beat, sound, rhythm, and we'll get to it, and then we'll move forward. All right, so we've got, where did my video go? Can everybody see the video screen where it says series of beatboxing clips?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. He's not dancing, so we don't have to worry about it lagging out. At least I don't. I hope not.
What you're hearing is not an electric drum machine. It's a hardwired, 48-track digitally mastered human. What I mean, so I'll take that and use that as the main foundation for the track and build all the sounds around that. What I'm saying?
Now I'll share one more, and then we'll get the gist of what Mike was doing, because Mike created his sounds and then put it in a machine.
It's recorded there in making sounds like. I have an objection.
Okay,
That's how I did it.
so that's Mike.
Every night she wants right.
And that kind of gives us some continuation with how we see this evolution of the drum. The drum no longer is there, but the beat that is created by the drum, or the sound or the form of expression, lives on. So it stems from the drum. And so you can see how over time others have been able to utilize that form of expression to actually bring together the sound in which they want to produce. Okay. All right. So that brings us to so we talked about Mike. And then the last clip is more contemporary. So this is what is more ideal about what you will see in your classes today, or people doing today. Darian shared a great clip last night, and it kind of captured the essence of it, but I want to share this one too, because this clip is actually of students doing that same tapping, and what it may be in your classrooms per se. So, and it's brief, so I'll share that. All right, can everybody see that? All right, so I'll play that really quick.
This a bop, iced out. I ain't talking shit like it's hot. Then I had the sauce, got the game in my pocket. I'm doing a big stepper while I stand on my wallet. I'm all in your ear kicking flavor. Double X flex on that cat, I'm her neighbor. She ain't see me in a whole month, had to slave. Made her bust it 3 or 4 times on the table. She like, who that knocking? Showstopper, Big Papa, the boat rockets playing reason beat with bad bitches like no shocker. These co-signers and D's on with no drama. Look, don't say too much. Word said cancel locked and don't play too much. 41 baddies times 2 at the cookout, stomach hurt. Guess I fucked around and must have ate too much. Walked in the function, whole gang look like Wu-Tang. Smell YSL too clean to the shoe street. Price on the beat, so the verse get true. Case of her, she love hit makers, let the whole crew bang. No punches in the sprinter like the bars on wheels, no clicking up. My niggas far too skilled. Full price for the game. We true stars for real. I never heard an instrumental too hard to kill.
Okay, last clip, sorry. So that is one I think captures the essence of the youth today. And I couldn't help but think, because I saw this clip several times, it has to be the teacher recording it. They were mesmerized, because thinking about the angle in which you were seeing, and the whole class is there, the teacher had to be the one recording and creating that space. So it's fitting, considering what we're trying to engage in and how we're trying to move forward. All right, so that brings us to the task. So how can we approach doing this in the classroom space? All right, so here are some thoughts that I have. Let me see if I can make that bigger. Okay, everyone can see that? Great. Okay, so this activity that I'm suggesting that you could use with the students to kind of lift up that information, that history, but also do it in an engaging manner, is two parts. The first would definitely be the part where they have to gather the information, which I've shared an example of a graphic organizer, which we know as educators that graphic organizers help kids to structure information, but categorize it in a way where they can give it back. But it helps to anchor whatever it is you also are trying to do, so that if you're trying to get them to create an activity or some kind of project or something of that nature, it helps to anchor it in a way where they have the information they should have in order to produce whatever it is that you've given them the space to produce. So with this, it's a 5 W's, 1 H. And you can see that it could be just blank boxes, or you can do it in chart form. But really to get them to think about all of the things that might pertain to a person's life and the things that happen in their life. It really should be able to capture that and the reasons why those things may have happened. So for starters, of course, I'm going to suggest that the topic or topics, the people, would be those that we've covered in this presentation. So the students would be tasked with completing this graphic organizer and researching the following South Carolinians, which is Miss Mary Jackson, Mr. Arthur Rose Sr., Mr. Clayton Pegleg Bates, and Mr. Darren Buff Robinson. Given it is Black History Month, you may already have some folks that you also would like to include. We welcome that as well, so that the students can actually have an opportunity to engage in people. It could be specifically South Carolina if it's the choice that you would like here with the ones that we've picked, but you can also expand it to include some others. We do suggest, at least I do, recommend that they don't look up people that they've been looking up in the past, just so that they can learn more about the history that they have not been exposed to. And they don't come with a whole lot of prior knowledge about it. They're going to learn new information. All right. So once they are given a person, if they choose one of these folks, or if you add a few others to the list, then you would have them to create a digital presentation of the person's life and include pictures. So it could be a PowerPoint, it could be a Prezi, it could be some form of a digital presentation that they would create and accompany it with some photographs. It could be a person, it could be scenes, it could be something representative that tie right into the person's life. All right, so that would be step one. They gather their information, do the research on that. The next step would be choices. So they have one, they can find an illustration or an art piece that's already been produced that has a symbolic meaning or message that can be used to describe and highlight the person you're researching. So let's say, for example, they're looking up Pegleg Bates, and what they've learned about Pegleg Bates may be similar to a story about someone that's been already sung about, or a song that resonates with them that really highlights the struggles or the challenges or the successes. They can use a current song or beat to be the soundtrack for their presentation. So once they put the information on the slides, the beat that they choose or the song that they choose will be the soundtrack. And they would be presenting the information that is on the slides and have it as a recording. So they would capture the recording with the sound as well as them talking over the beat or the sound to create a soundtrack for that person's life. If they can't think of a song, or if they're creative enough, they also have the option to create an illustration or an art piece that has a symbolic meaning that could really, let me back up. I think I blurred a couple of things there. Let me make sure I back up. So let me back up. So find an illustration or art piece that can have that symbolic meaning that could highlight their life. And so if they have that piece, they can put that piece, images of that piece on the slides so that they can make that comparison of their art piece that they've identified or illustration to the person's life. If they don't want to use something that's already been created, they can create an illustration or an art piece themselves. And then they include that as a part of their presentation. And then as they are talking about the person and their life, then they will compare how that art piece or that illustration reflects or highlights that person's life. Okay, I'm gonna pause right there. Questions?
How long do we have to turn this in?
Well, we are hoping it could be explored by next week, next week, Thursday. We're hoping, if possible. Now, let me give you the other option, right? Because this is the one with the illustration or art piece. The other option can be to identify a contemporary beat. This is what I was mixing up. They can find a beat, or it doesn't have to be most recent, a song that would serve as the music soundtrack for their life, of the person that they research. So the biggest thing is they would have to think about how that beat really reflects that life of that person. Like, you know, when you're watching a movie, let's say a horror movie, for example, you know, when it's a dark room or a vacant car in the middle of nowhere, the beat changes, the soundtrack changes, and you already know something bad is going to happen. Especially if they're creeping towards and you can hear the music change. So the same would be for the song, a song that really captures from the student's perspective, the life, the events of that person. And then they would record the song, the information about the person on the presentation, they will record that. If they don't like one of the songs that they want to choose from that's out there, they can create their own. So they have two avenues that they could go. They could either use a song or create a song to use as a soundtrack of one of the persons that they research and record that, or they can use an illustration or art piece that they find or create. And when they're sharing about the person, that when they're recording, they can use that to compare to that person's life. Like this blanket that's been put together that has 50 different patches is a reflection of this person's life, and this is how. You know, and they can give their own analysis, which gives them an opportunity to put words to patterns, words to shapes that they may see in that particular art piece or illustration that they create or find. Questions?
Okay, my question is, do we have to follow this pattern that you've given us? Like, do they have to do a presentation with all of these things in it, or can we? I know what I'm trying to ask, but it's not coming out right.
Well,
Like,
just throw it out there because somebody may be thinking the same thing.
is there any room for us to use our own creative spin on us, or does it have to be exactly like this?
It doesn't have to be exactly like this.
As long
Here,
as it's a presentation with all of the components.
for the most part. So what
Can I,
we're go ahead.
I'm sorry. Can I speak to that real quick, Frank?
Yes.
Please, that would be, as far as I'm concerned, that would be excellent. We're hoping to be inspiration. Frank is kind of, like I say, Frank is baking the cake. We brought the ingredients. Frank is baking the cake, but you might like a vanilla cake, or you might like a red velvet cake, or you may want your cake to have 3 tiers, or you may want whatever variations there are. That is an excellent question, and we are hoping that is what you will do. That your time with us serves as an inspiration for you, because you know your students better than we do. You know what you're working on in class better than we do, and you just take what we're giving you. You can do exactly what Frank is laying out. That's fine. That's perfect. It's obviously very cool. But to see you, like I said, we're hoping to be an inspiration for you to take, you said the components, perfect word, components of this, and see what you do with it in class. Did that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So as Darian noted, this is just like a suggestion of how you can go about doing this type of activity with this information in your classroom. We know that the turnaround time is real tight. So that's one of the reasons we're like, no, you don't have to follow it to the T, but we want to still provide an avenue as to how you can use this in the classroom and still pull in the arts into the history, but then also tie it in a way where students today may feel connected to it in some capacity. But we're open to your creativity and what you do with your students. Any other questions? Yes.
Are you gonna give us this slide deck so we can have the instructions, or?
Yes, absolutely. We could do that too. Who was that, if you don't mind me asking?
Erica?
Erica. Okay, yes.
Miss
Absolutely.
Edwards, Isaac is gonna pull all this together. It's pretty much already together. He's gonna send it to you. Isaac, how long do you think it would take for you to get them these slides to use for?
Not long at all. I just need emails, honestly. That's all I need.
Right, and you could have it to them by tomorrow?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'll be able to take care of y'all. No worries.
Other questions? Ms. Edwards, you look like you're cooking up something over there. Got an idea circulating.
Yeah, I thought about what I'm gonna do. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
I see it. Anybody else with any questions? All righty. That's all I have, Mr. McLeod.
All right. You killed it, Frank. We under time. Good. All right. So everybody, I saw someone ask in the chat for us to for Frank to share the link. So what you saw today, what Frank presented with you guys today, and what we've done the past 2 days, which really yesterday was a review of the first day too. Isaac is going to get all that together. Make sure we have your emails, which obviously we do because you're here on the call. And we're going to share that with you. You'll have time to kind of percolate, go back over it. And like I said, we love to see, what you do with the recipe. What it looks like when he's cooking and, when it's cooking in your spot. This is how we present it. It's purposely presented in such a way that we hope, if you notice, we're not telling you, oh, do it just like this, and then this happened, and this happened, and this happened. No, we're hoping to spark your creativity with your students. So we're excited to see what you're gonna do. What you gonna do. All right. So we will meet here again next Thursday. You can keep this link, but Sam probably will send out an email on that Wednesday or so with the same link, just to remind you that we're meeting Thursday at 6. Or if Zoom pulls its devil treatment of me again, it may be a new link. And we'll hope to hear you guys tell some cool stories. I like to call what we do next Thursday is the show and tell portion, and I always enjoy it. I'm gonna speak for Frank and Isaac and Sam. This is your first time with us, but it's always cool to see what y'all do with the kids. It's always interesting to see, even if it's just a cool conversation sometimes. But
Truly.
yeah, yeah. So if there are no more questions, are there any more questions or concerns or anything that we should need to address? Okay. If something comes up, you guys have, I think you have my you should have my email, I think, or at least Sam's email. You can contact me through Sam. And we will try to get back with you in as timely a fashion as possible and answer any questions. Yeah. Frank, you got anything you want to add?
No, I was just gonna say that I'm gonna share the presentation, but it'll have all the links from the videos in it. So if anybody wants to see those.
Okay. All right. So Isaac, are you going to share yesterday's, and Frank, you're going to share today's? Y'all going to do that separately?
We can. Frank, if you can just share the slide PowerPoint that you had presented today, I can share that with everyone all at once.
Okay. All right, I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That way it'll all be in one space, and you guys are going to just, scroll through as needed and kind of jump around. And this is another thing we're hoping. I know you guys are all over the place, and we like that. I'm hoping you guys will share with each other. Share your ideas with. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sam.
I just have a question. So the materials that we reviewed from yesterday and today, are they going to be shared in sense of email correspondence or shared as far as a drive available for the instructors? Because we have a drive available, of course, right? Don't we? So we can just share the link to the drive that facilitates access to the information you previously shared.
Yeah.
That's an Isaac question.
Yeah, I have it. Well, let me ask the question to everyone here. Is everyone familiar with Google Classroom?
Yes.
I've created a Google Classroom as of, I believe, yesterday. If I get your emails, I'll send you a Google Classroom link where you can just grab and acquire all these things. And it's also a place where you can submit your presentations that you do with your students as well. How does that sound for y'all?
Perfect.
Cool. So Isaac, you already have everybody's, right?
I need to get emails and just so I can add them in. I have ours, of course, but I need to make sure I have everyone else's. I did send out an email link yesterday, so I'll go ahead and add those emails that I sent out into the Google Classroom. And then anyone else that I'm missing, I would need that.
So then I know Sam, you have everybody else. I know you have everybody else. So Isaac, if you and Sam could get together and just compare notes, make sure we're not missing anyone. How many is this? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That iPhone is one person, right? That's somebody else. Is that a 8? Or is that a second of 7?
Well, we'll just go through all the emails that we have that and also the recordings will probably present who was present or whatever. So anybody we miss, we'll go through the end of the recording or the middle of the recording and get there and make sure we correspond with them and send that information send the correspondence for Google Classroom to that. So everybody has so there's a transparency present.
Okay. So
it ain't one thing is another, bro. So all the time, man.
So let me ask this for them. When can they anticipate receiving that link to the classroom?
By the end of the night.
End of the night?
If not tonight, so tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow
One
morning.
second. Yeah. So.
Yeah, from my end, if there's anything on my end as far as contacts, I'll be visiting that overnight because I'm about to go to a rehearsal. I'll be done about 10 o'clock. So between now and sometime in the morning, I'll shoot that to you, Isaac.
Okay. All right. Sounds like a plan. All right. Any other questions? If you don't get them, if you don't have them by midday tomorrow. You guys have contact information. Like I said, I think for me, I think you have my contact information. If you contact me, I will contact Isaac and Sam. All right. Any other questions, concerns, comments, contributions? Want to know my Cash App so you can send me some money?
I'm gonna see everybody later. I got to run, but I'll see everybody later.
Okay, Frank. Okay. I think that's it, man. We are out of here. All right, you guys. We will see you next Thursday at 6 o'clock. Thank you, everybody. Y'all be good. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Darren,
Yes.
this is Amara under Leroy again.
Uh-huh.
My computer, I don't know if it was my computer. I think my computer went out. So I missed maybe about a good 5 minutes of it trying to get back in. I don't know what was said, or was it a date due? I think you was talking about next week, and that's when my computer went.
Okay. So next Thursday, we're gonna Isaac and Sam are gonna share let me start from the beginning just to make sure we cover everything. So the idea of these presentations are to give you guys information, the raw information, and then Frank gives you guys kind of guidelines to help you shape that into classroom activities. But they're really inspiration. You could take bits and pieces that you want, or make up your new stuff, or whatever you want. Is really to kind of consider us, I like to say, the inspiration or the spark. So we will meet again next Thursday just to see what has happened with your inspiration or the spark from these conversations. You know, like I said, sometimes Frank has given you guys a particular way, a particular plan to do it. But you might take a piece of that and break that off and make it all to, well, that's happened a lot of times. Teachers are like, well, I didn't want to do this whole thing, but I really wanted to do this part. So we did this, or I didn't want to do any of that because me and my kids were already doing this. So we took that information and we made a whole new, it really is, it's about sparking your creativity in the classroom. So we will meet again next Thursday at 6 o'clock to see what you guys have done.
Okay. All right. Are you all gonna send us the assignment template, or?
Yeah, Frank, there's one that's in Frank's notes. Isaac and Sam are going to share the notes with you from the final discussion, and Frank had a particular one in his notes that he will send. I don't know, did you get a chance to see that?
I saw the little graphic organizer, and okay.
That's it. So that'll be in Frank's notes to help you. A lot of times the teachers
as a guide.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. All right. Maybe let me ask you this here, because my team members, co-workers, they were asking, it's the same thing like we did last year. I think when we did,
which project did y'all do?
Okay, last year we did the Bloom's Ball.
Oh, the Bloom Balls. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Right. So is this program the same way as it was last year? Or is it?
Yeah, it's the same thing. You take your you might want to do a Bloom Ball.
Well, that's one of the projects my kids are doing on the Renaissance. We're studying the Harlem Renaissance and the Rolling 20s now. So I'm getting ready to give them information so they can do a Bloom's Ball, but I might want to do this too.
You might want to incorporate this information into your Bloom Ball, or you might want to do something totally different. Right. You know, it's really, like I said, we're not here to tell you what to do. We're here to give you ideas of what you could do.
Right. Okay, that was one, and then I don't know if they asked the question because they was asking me the question, and I was like, I got it brief, because I don't know whether it was you I was talking to with my principal.
Yeah, it was me. It was me.
Okay, and they was asking me, they was like, is there a stipend with this?
There is a stipend.
Okay.
There is a stipend. I think, but the stipend, let me get with Dawn. I think the stipend doesn't get mailed out to after the final meeting.
Right.
Which will be next Thursday. So let me get with Dawn. She's actually the administrator of this grant. So let me get with her, and I will have a definite date for you guys by next Thursday.
You know what? I am enjoying this. I
Good.
enjoyed it last year, and I'm incorporating it again this year. So this is another activity that can be incorporated.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. It's important. Well, yeah, it is important for us to hear that, because we're trying to do exactly what you said. We're trying to make it fun and inspiring, but also useful for you guys in the classroom.
Yes. Because I'm trying to find a way that I can use it not only in history, but also in the other content subjects.
Yeah, because to be totally honest, like I said, the thing about patterns is, if you have the time, you could really apply it to math. You can apply it to music. You can apply it to people's social studies. You can definitely apply it to art. It's a lot of things. Once you understand, once you are able to identify pattern, you can apply it in so many different ways. So that's one of the struggles we always have, because we have such a short time with you guys that we try to figure out, okay, what's best. Not only do we want to say, but what's best maybe in this situation not to say, because we don't want to do too much. You know what I mean?
Right. But like I said, I'm enjoying it. I love it. I loved it last year, and I'm loving it this year. And it's giving me new ideas to incorporate with social studies, where the kids are. We did our half bloom ball at the beginning of the year, and they really enjoyed it.
Cool.
So,
thank you very much.
Continue doing what you're doing.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. You be good. We'll see you next Thursday.
All right. Okay.
All right. Peace.
Thank you.